crispy.
And welcome back to another episode of Figures in Action. And I've been using my homeboy Samuel L. Jackson as my dial model for a little bit. I think that came out, this figure came out great. Looks just like when he was younger. And I think Samuel Jackson is an amazing artist, man. So I always use him. Anyway, so we are here today for another WWE Executive Office. So I was contacted by a gentleman who saw the office I created for MDT and hit me up, and he said, listen, I'm interested in an office as well, and we just wanted to get the information. So I passed along the information. He actually decided to go with the smallest size dial I usually offer in terms of the scale of dials that I offer. So he went for the 12 by 12. So this is 12 inches tall, 12 inches wide, 12 inches deep. And you know, a lot of times you would think that these smaller dials that aren't you know, a little cleaner would be easier to make, but man, let me tell you, not the case. Not the case at all. A lot of times these dials end up being a little bit more difficult. See, I just noticed like a pencil mark there that I have to erase. So let's get into this really quick. So he wanted, first and foremost, he had just ordered, you know, the executive office, you know, so that's what he wanted. Then he said, well, we settled on a price. I told him what it would cost, and then he said, well, I want a desk and I also want a shelf. So we kind of went back and forth and finally figured it out. And so it is prepared, it is ready to go. And I just wanted to go through everything real quick. So installation, foam board, top and bottom. The only thing, for the most part, a lot of times with these executive offices or anything of that nature, there's not a lot of carving going on. So a lot of the work that went on here is just the floor and then creating the furniture, but also making sure that everything else kind of falls on play, you know, on point, and everything is measuring correctly and so forth and so on. So everything here was raw wood. So this was built from scratch. That shelving unit was built from scratch. That door, you know, all that is kind of from scratch. So this is usually, you know, that kind of the raw wood. And so I stained it with a wood stain that is gunstock, I believe is the name of it. I believe that's the name. And I definitely like the way it looks better with the stained wood versus just the natural wood. This is, I believe this is the first time that I use a you know, door, making kind of a wooden door. So carved it out as it was a normal door and what have you. And then at the end I was like, you know what, why don't I take some balsa wood, and they make sheets that are a little bit wider than that door. And I said, why don't I just grab that up and size it up and put it in there. Same thing over here, that's just balsa wood. The desk is mostly balsa wood. I think the legs are basswood. This is just molding that I find at Home Depot. And so, you know, it's not the easiest thing to find molding, because you have to make sure it kind of scales in with the size that you're using. And I think this is a pretty compact enough style molding where I think I can get away with it. I've used it before in other projects. I actually used it one time in a church dial where I kind of painted these little circular designs here, each one in gold, and it looked pretty cool. The desk itself, again, just made from scratch. A lot of times you'll see the guts on the parts where you're not really supposed to see, so we try to keep it nice and slick on the outside. And then so I glued, this whole thing is glued by tacky glue. You know, tacky glue is the best route to go in terms of wood. That extra kind of hot glue that you see is just to kind of reinforce it. This balsa wood, this strip of balsa wood, the one that, you know, made the door, was very flimsy, so I had to kind of double up. So everything here is kind of doubled up, which is great because it creates a very solid desk, and that's always what I'm looking for. I'm looking for solid furniture. You know, obviously if if I stomped on it, it'll break with the quickness, but just kind of slapping it around, it's gonna stay in shape. Let me take Sam down, and then same thing with the with this joint. As you can see, that's the raw part of the shelving unit. There you can see the barcode from the balsa wood. So this is that balsa wood, which is a long 2-footer, I believe. Cut it to size, had that smaller kind of balsa wood there, support for the bottom of the shelves. So I'm assuming he's probably going to put belts or awards or what have you on there. Same doorknob that I've been using in terms of that little fastener that you can get at Joann Fabrics. So that stayed the same. Let me see what else. And yeah, pretty much the paper that I use is used for where the hell did I get this paper? So yeah, the oh my goodness, why is it escaping me? Scrapbooking section, yeah, scrapbooking section. So I kind of like it. It's it has some designs on it, so I kind of matched up the bottom design to the top design. Went with a real neutral beige and kind of cream bottom and top, and then the gun stock on the wood matches very well with it. And then you have the darker color for the hardwood floors, which just kind of completes it. He does want, I have a piece of felt that I used for a rug, and I told him I'd include that in there, so I'll throw that in there. So he's gonna have it with a rug, and then that's just his you know, his posters. So he has the Fight with Honor live, and I don't know if that may be the name of his show on YouTube. I'm not 100% sure, but he wanted me to include some posters. So what I did is I actually printed these, and I glued them on a thin piece of cardboard, and these are just stuck by painter's tape. Just messaged them, told them that I wasn't going to put the posters permanent. I don't like kind of putting anything permanent on the walls, especially when, you know, if he wants that bookshelf to be on that side and that poster to be on that side. If he decides to make it a permanent fixture in terms of the poster to the wall, more power to him. It's his dial. He can do as he likes. But for now, I just like to leave it where he can decide what he wants to do with it. Again, it's not the most space in the world. It'll definitely work for what he wants. He already bought a chair, really cool chair. So I'm really looking forward to see what he does with it. But I just wanted to share this with you guys. And the trimming here, one of the things that happened here, I actually wanted to share this with you guys. That backboard there was warped. So when you know, so this is magnetized. So when you would put it together, you can see like the biggest gap there. So what I did is I just kind of put this trimming there, and it covers that gap. But it became a little tricky because I had to kind of get that into the corner. So, you know, it gets a little tricky, but you just have to be creative with it. And a lot of times, you know, it's going to be hidden, because I mean, I think this shelving unit is not going to work anywhere else but here or here. I mean, I guess you can put it in the middle. That would work too. And if he does, you know what? That still looks decent. So he's going to be fine with it. You can even kitty corner it if you like. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of give him the options. Just stained that piece today. This one's been stained for a while. This one's dry. That one's still a little wet. That's why it looks a little bit darker. But once it dries out, it's going to match the color to the desk and to the door. Yeah, and this one was done. I always like these little projects. Again, they're not the easiest. They're not the easiest, but once they're done, they look really good. So I'm happy with the end result. Alright, man. Pictures at the end, and I leave your comments and questions and all that good stuff. And I am out. Peace.